Welcome to the Hopcast. I'm your host, Jeff Sherman, and I'm on board Milwaukee streetcar, the Hop. It's all about connections, it's all about community, and it's all about moving Milwaukee forward. Welcome aboard the Hopcast. I'm your host, Jeff Sherman. It's all about connections, it's all about community, it's all about moving Milwaukee forward. But get this, we're not on the streetcar yet. We're on the streetcar route at the studios of Good Karma Brands, home of 101.7 FM, The Truth, and my guest is Sherwin Hughes. Sherwin, welcome.
Glad to be here. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. So Sherwin is a Milwaukee media mogul, an icon in and of himself for sure. He did a show called The Forum on WNOV radio for about 6 years. Kind of cut your teeth in politics before that. Worked for Tom Barrett when he was a congressman, right?
Correct.
Worked for Milwaukee Public School System. Ran John Kerry's presidential campaign in the state. Worked for State Senator Lena Taylor, and a whole lot more. You're a Brown Deer High School graduate. Falcons, right?
That's correct.
That's right. Go Falcons. All right. And really, truly passionate about community building and making Milwaukee a better place to live, work, and play in. You can listen to him on The Truth from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. each and every day. So tune in, podcast it wherever you get your content. Sherwin's here for you. We're going to talk Milwaukee. We're going to talk politics. And we're going to learn a whole lot more about Sherwin Hughes right now on the Hopcast. So Sherwin, my first question is always truly just simple. Give us the Sherwin Hughes story. Can you condense that in like 3 or 4 minutes for us?
I will try. I've worked for politicians my whole life, so being short-winded is not my strong suit. Grew up in Brown Deer, didn't really have much of an interest in education. In fact, barely graduated from high school.
Okay.
Didn't think I was all that smart until I took a couple of classes at MATC, and I realized that I had an addiction to learning that had been undiscovered. And so once I was able to pick my own classes and subject matter, I really, really took a fancy and an interest to learning all that I could. I enrolled in UW-Oshkosh, 2 years of undergrad there, my last 2 years of undergrad at UW-Milwaukee, and then I got hooked up with a community-based organization, and it was basically off to the races from there. So I've always been a lover of community, improving conditions, but also a lover of education, and also try and provide that to my listening audience as well, that through education, just about everything is possible. So a condensed version of the Sherwin Hughes story would probably be that.
Okay, very good. All right. So The Truth is about 2 years old, right?
Correct.
New station, new digs here at the Avenue, the 3rd Street Market Hall right outside here. Talk to us about the mission of the station, and just kind of give us a general overview. If someone isn't a daily listener, what the mission is, kind of what your show is all about as well.
So The Truth was an unlikely situation to happen. It was started during the pandemic, and I think the situation with the George Floyd murder really encouraged the owner and proprietor, Craig Karmazin, to give the African American community a very specific place where we could have conversations amongst one another and with our community. And so this concept came to fruition. We were going to get African American talk show hosts, producers, content directors, and just see what happened. And there must have been some kind of magic in the formula, because it has been an overwhelming success. The way the community has embraced us and the way that our audience has grown has been exponential. And quite honestly, I think it even shocked the people that originally invested in this concept, because they weren't expecting it to be as successful as it was, as quickly as it was. And so I think the ultimate mission was just to provide African Americans a place, because there's not much in the media universe for us, specifically for us. Right. And it actually became a formula for incredible success. And we're about to have our 2-year anniversary party coming up pretty soon, and a lot for us to celebrate and congratulate.
Very good. Well, congratulations. All right. Well, we're going to kind of transition to the next phase of the interview, walk down Wisconsin Avenue. We're 4 or 5 blocks to the streetcar station, jump on the streetcar, and continue our conversation.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
All right. All right. Here we are, Sherwin, on board the streetcar, an easy walk down Wisconsin Avenue to the station, and rolling through beautiful downtown Milwaukee.
That's
Let's
right.
just continue our conversation. You were talking a little bit at the studio about the truth and kind of your place in the Milwaukee media scene. And as a lifelong Milwaukeean, just talk about media in the market for a while. You've been at a couple different stations now, and just, talk about the Milwaukee media scene.
Talk radio is what I do specifically, and I think it still certainly has a place. It may not be as prominent now as it was some time ago, which is unfortunate because I think it still provides an interactive way in which people can have conversations about the issues. But I think that the best part about media for me, and I shouldn't be saying this because it might put me out of business, is that it's been decentralized. And when people can turn on their cell phone cameras and narrate what they're seeing in real time and upload that to the internet, like to me, that's real media, that's real content. And so the real stories are the ones that, traditional media may not get until later,
right.
Until the situation has changed. But people with their mobile devices can capture information right away. So decentralized media, I think, is a very important part of the landscape.
Yeah. So it's really, everyone's kind of a journalist in their own right. And then if, you have a talk show, you kind of got to get up every morning. And what's your routine? Like, do you go through social? Like, how do you get story ideas for your show? And kind of what's your media routine to make sure that you're on top of everything?
So I got to start with local news because
Okay.
if something major happened here in the city, I want to make sure that I'm talking about that I'm on top of that.
Yeah.
I may check out some national sources, but whatever it is that I'm, consuming in order to prepare for my show, I have to make it relevant to Milwaukee. Because
Okay.
one thing I've learned is that people can get national sources all over the place, but they want to know what's really happening in their city. And I think that ultimately the media that we have, especially designed for African Americans, is so limited that I'm not going to regurgitate what they're getting on CNN or MSNBC. So whatever I can make local and make relevant, that goes into my preparation as well. But it's also just general social issues that always need more conversation and communication in the city of Milwaukee, like what's happening locally, what's happening in politics, what is City Hall doing, what is City Hall not doing, and how that impacts the community is all part of my preparation.
Yeah. Okay. So are there certain reporters or shows that you really admire and dive into more so than others?
I have a respect for the plethora of journalists that contribute to the media landscape. Do I say I have a favorite? I think that, one particular station, CBS 58, they tend to dive a little bit deeper into issues that are much more relevant to my listenership.
Okay.
And also some of the things that they post on their website are more relevant.
Yeah.
But it's usually, just a collaboration and combination of different types of media that I put together and pull from.
Yeah. Spent some time in the media game, as a lot of us have. And when you talk about storytelling on the media level, there's often this everything's so negative, right? It's all driven by crime. If it bleeds, it leads. Like, how do you get through that and get over that and talk about the good stuff?
Well, some of the negative stuff you can't ignore because that has a real particular kind of impact on people.
Right.
But I like to focus on some of the untold stories, and I have the flexibility of my platform to talk to anybody I want. There's a lot of movers and there's a lot of shakers that have not risen to the attention of other media outlets, and so being able to feature them and also get support for some of their efforts that they're doing in community. Whether it be community gardens or mentoring with young people, some of those folks don't have the opportunity to have their stories told on a broader platform. And so when you focus on people who are really working hard that don't get a lot of attention, I think that is a positive story that's also appreciated.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. How are you? This is Streetcar. It's live.
That's right.
All right. So when you're interviewing people on your show, is there something media-wise that you really want to do, or a certain interview you'd really love to have? How's that happen in show prep for you?
Well, there's still an interview that I want to get. I've been trying. Obama won't return my telephone calls.
Okay. Well, we got to make that happen.
I'd like to have a conversation with him. But I think ultimately, whoever it is that I'm interviewing, whether they're some big name celebrity or just somebody from the city of Milwaukee who's doing great things, I try to humanize them first.
Yeah.
I wanted them to be able to relate to people. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? What do you like to do? What are your hobbies?
Right.
To just make them a person first, and then we'll talk about what makes them popular or what makes them appealing for the interview. But humanizing people first often like helps the interview make a lot more sense when people know where that individual is coming from.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I mean, very much a mantra of the Hopcast. You know, we want to humanize a streetcar, right? It's all about people, it's all about connections, and it's about moving Milwaukee forward.
That's right.
So I want to talk a little bit about public transit in Milwaukee, you know, whether it's the bus, whether it's bus rapid transit, the hop, bubbler. Just talk about public transit, the role that transit has in people's lives.
So it has a big role. I wish that Milwaukee was less dependent on cars because we spend way too much of our money, and especially our federal transportation dollars, either on maintaining old diesel buses, even though I think they're transitioning, or expanding highways. A metro area cannot grow if you are limited in your transportation options. I'm mindful of people that don't drive, that don't want to drive. It's too expensive to have car insurance. We need to be able to move people from where they live to where the jobs are and where they're being created. And having all sorts of different forms of public transportation is extremely important. We seem to be lagging behind in that regard, but we're building up downtown nice. You know, we do have a lot of amenities here, a lot of entertainment here.
Right.
But if we don't have the necessary public transportation options to move people from around the metro area to and through downtown, then I think that's going to hinder our economic growth in the city.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a great point. And you know, all the transit options have to work together, right? I mean, it's about connecting the neighborhoods, about connecting the communities. So I always like to ask this question. If you kind of had the Milwaukee magic wand and you have that one wish for Milwaukee to truly move the community forward, what is that for you, Sherwin?
More understanding, because I think a lot of people that grew up here grew up in a specific neighborhood where their friends, their family may not be very diverse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, African Americans tend to grow up, live, work, and play in black neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Caucasian folks, the same thing. And then we'll come together in places like downtown.
Right.
And because there hasn't been any like transition, and we just come together downtown, it can be some disagreements because there's not a lot of cultural understanding.
Mm-hmm.
I think the stories that people have to tell, no matter where they're from, are unique and inspiring. But we need more places where that can happen before you bring us all together at the Deer District, because then you'll see the clashes of cultures that have grown up separate and apart. So the magic wand would be to get more and foster more understanding amongst one another, so then we can all relax and have a good time together.
Mm-hmm. All right, I like that. That's a good vision for sure. All right, I want to kind of dive into some like radio talk show topics a little bit, do some quick fire on a bunch of different issues, mainly Greater Milwaukee related, and get your expert opinion and analysis on them. So let's talk first about the relocation of the Milwaukee Public Museum. Obviously moving from Wells Street near the Deer District. What are your thoughts there?
Smart move.
Yeah.
The building, which, you know, growing up here, that's your field trip, right? You went to the museum, even going to the IMAX many, many years later. The building is in very bad shape, a lot of deferred maintenance, and we need to keep it as a cultural icon, a treasure. And so moving it to the Deer District certainly makes a lot of sense. And I think there was also the accreditation was in jeopardy as well. So staying in that spot hurt. It would have been the largest museum in the nation without a particular kind of accreditation that they could not get had they stayed in that area. So moving it also, you know, furthers and fosters what the museum is supposed to do and offer all the cultural attractions that it does, including getting federal funding and attention. So moving it, great idea. I know some people are going to have an issue with it, but, you know, us upper Midwestern folks, we don't like change too much.
That's right, yes.
But no, it's a good idea.
That's right. Nothing constant but change, right?
That's right.
All right. So talk a little bit about driving in Milwaukee. You know, there's been a lot of talk about reckless driving and how you curtail it and how you educate, but from your lens, what are you seeing there?
It's a lot more dangerous than it used to be, but let this be a cautionary tale. If we had more public transportation options, we would have less cars on the street. We're worried about less property damage because of reckless driving. So when we don't focus on public transportation options, you're going to get, you know, a 20th century throwback. We're having problems with cars right now still in reckless driving. You know, I recently had a conversation with would-be elected officials, and they just want more enforcement. Well, that comes at a cost. They want more engineering, and of course they want more education. Yeah. There's other ways in which we can get around the reckless driving. Eventually, it's by having options for people to get to A to B without having to use a car in the first place.
Yeah, okay. Very good. All right, a big topic, but public school education in Milwaukee. A lot of open seats on the school board. Kind of what are your general thoughts about improving education in Milwaukee?
It is still underfunded. I once asked a school board member many years ago, how much money do we need? What's an ideal amount to invest in every single student? And it's like 3 times what we invest right now. And so if we're falling short and if we're basing what we invest in public schools just off of property tax dollars, some neighborhoods, the property tax revenue is really, really low. And so the flaw is in the formula of how we fund our public schools. It needs to be the crown jewel of Milwaukee, because if you've got a great public school system, then you can bring jobs, you can bring industry. But if we are underfunding that, then we're going to be in trouble, and we can see that evident right now.
Yeah. Okay. Talked a little bit about community coming together at the Deer District. When we talk about race relations and kind of what we can all do to improve our community, what are some general and specific thoughts there?
Nothing new with that. Just get to know somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're at a venue with someone, maybe it's the rave, maybe it's the 5-Star Forum, say hello and talk to somebody, strike up a conversation. You're all there for the same thing.
Yeah.
So you obviously have something in common. It's regardless of where somebody is from or where you think they're from or whatever stereotypes you have about them, we all have common ground. And actually a lot of it, because we're all here in beautiful Milwaukee, right? So we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
But just finding common ground with anybody and everybody, just having a conversation.
Yeah, love it. All right. Twitter and social media. I like your posts. I like to engage with you on social media, but give me your thoughts on social media.
It's the necessary evil. It is a way in which you can communicate things to a wide audience of people, I suppose, and get real-time feedback.
Yeah.
But it also has this real significant place, which is kind of taking the place of good old-fashioned conversations, or imagine this, picking up the telephone.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of ambiguity in digital communication, and so we're losing some of the personal nature of having conversations. But, it's a great way to find out information. A large number of people are going to Twitter to get their news, or they're going to TikTok to get their news as well. So you can't deny it, but I think it just needs to be used with a level of caution and discernment.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. We're rolling here through the third ward. Big group getting on the streetcar here. It's good to see. Let's talk a little bit about, I know you talk politics on your show and obviously been in politics much of your career. How do we get a better balance, or do we want a better balance of political discourse and collaboration?
Well, this is where social media comes up again, because the political extremes can get a lot of attention for ideas that don't represent the vast majority of people. And because they have the ability to make a lot of noise, and that noise can get circulated over and over and over again, it seems to dominate common sense conversations on social media.
Yeah.
The extremes don't do very well at governing, because the majority of the people all want the exact same things, and it's rarely extreme proposals.
Yeah.
Finding a balance is going to take courage in our current elected officials and in a new crop of candidates that want to filter out the noise and just get back to governing and helping people, whether they're urban or rural, first generation, highly educated or not very highly educated. Doing the work of the people has got to take precedent and priority. And until we get elected officials who aren't fearing losing in a primary, we're going to be stuck for a little while, but I'm optimistic.
Okay, that's good. All right. Optimism is always a good thing. So, I know you played some football back in the day. Aaron Rodgers is always a good topic. What are your thoughts about Aaron's final season, or moving forward, or not?
He's brought me so much joy over his tenure. But this season, while it looked promising toward the end, I don't want to get my hopes up. I mean, they went on a winning streak. And Aaron Rodgers he's a Hall of Fame athlete, no matter how you slice it. But I think we get to a point where we need change. He's given us a lot of great memories. He gave us a Super Bowl ring. But it just seems like he is not the player that he once was. And the organization is going to survive. It's a 100-year-old organization.
Right.
It doesn't start nor stop with one player.
Yeah.
So if we have to look forward to Jordan Love or maybe somebody in the draft, and that's what we got to do. But if this is his last season, I will wish him nothing but the best and hope he doesn't go to Minnesota.
All right, very good. All right. That's right. Every organization is bigger than the individual. So, onward and upward if that's the way he's going to go. All right, we're kind of going down Milwaukee Street here. I like to do a segment we call Quick Hops. A bunch of just personality-driven questions to get to know you a little bit better. What book are you reading right now? Do you have time to read books?
I do.
Yeah, good.
Shockingly.
All right, that's good.
So I'm a history buff.
Okay.
I think a lot of history has not been told, and as I do research, I learn stuff all the time that I never knew about. So it's called A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn.
Okay.
Fantastic, because it's all of the untold stories in history, the way history should be told, in chronological order, not filtered through somebody's lens or through somebody else's understanding of propaganda. It just and some of it is very, very uncomfortable. But I think so far I'm about halfway through it. I have a whole different perspective on not just America, but how we have been receiving information our entire lives. So, People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn, great book.
Okay, all right, adding it to my list. An insider tip for somebody coming to Milwaukee for the first time?
Get a fish fry.
All right.
Eat.
All right. And where? Do you have a favorite? Is that, you don't want to pick a...
No, a fish fry, you got to go to Packing House.
All right, very good.
There's a bunch of good ones. You can't go wrong with them.
No, that's a good one, for sure. So, when you think about your show, what's your biggest strength? What's your biggest weakness? I feel like I'm interviewing you for a job. But, this is always a fun question, right?
I have the ability to take an idea, a thought, or an emotion and stretch it, and then get feedback on a thought, a feeling, or an emotion. So that's certainly a strength. Yeah. A weakness pertaining to my show is that I'm really fixated on certain things, and that's what I'm talking about. The audience maybe not so much, but if I learn more about anything by talking about it and getting whatever feedback is available. So if I'm fixated on something, sorry guys, that's where we're at today.
Yeah.
Because it actually helps me learn, and sometimes the audience wants to move on, but I say when we move on.
Yeah. Well, but that's the beauty of your show. You can talk, you can text, you can engage, and you can get it real time. And maybe somebody's going to bring a little different opinion or a little different voice to what your thoughts are. And that's kind of the beauty of talk radio, for sure. We talked a little bit about your media routine. Like, do you have a morning routine when you get up in the morning? Are you like, hey, I do my exercises, I only drink this kind of juice? Like, what's that look like before you roll into the station?
I am surprisingly regimented and have to have a routine. I like order and predictability because the show is not going to have any predictability to it.
Okay.
So whatever it is that I can control, I get up, get in the shower, coffee's on, make something for breakfast. Right. I got TVs on, listening to what's happening. Got to check the phone. And I make my way out the door, and I might listen to other talk radio to see what else is going on in the universe and how my colleagues down the aisle are presenting information. Yeah. And then I take all of that, get to the station. I got my routine there, where I open up my tabs on my computer and hope for the best. And
go at it. All right. That's just I never turn on the TV in the morning. I'm just not a TV in the morning guy. But, I got my certain shows that I watch. How about you? You have shows on your Netflix queue that hey, these are my shows, these are my favorites?
So I tend to rotate quite a bit. So I like documentaries and I like stories about people's lives. I'm watching one on YouTube, or on Hulu rather, and it's a dramatized reenactment of Mike Tyson's life, telling all of the stories that Mike, I'm sure he didn't authorize it, but just painting the picture of who he is as a man, because I remember him, in the 80s and 90s being the youngest heavyweight champion. But anytime there's a story, behind the scenes information about some larger than life figure. I'm also, the guys are going to be mad at me. I'm just watching The Queen's Gambit right now on Netflix, and I'm a chess player.
Oh, all right.
Really enjoying that as well.
Yeah, that's great. My wife and I watch that. It's intense. It's really, really interesting. And they've extended, there's a Netflix chess set that you can buy now, and so there's a lot of creativity that Netflix has brought to that. So, who's your hero?
I could have so many.
Yeah.
I could say something cliche, but quite honestly, it's my dad.
Yeah.
My parents are still married.
Okay.
And just
still in the area?
Still in Brown Deer.
Still in Brown Deer? Okay.
Still in the house that I grew up in.
Nice.
And just having him as a central figure in the way I see it. So, my childhood years, my mom was the most important thing in the entire world. Mm-hmm. But from adulthood on, my dad became the most important figure, because adulthood as a man, especially as an African-American man, is very, very specific, especially in this town. Yeah. And so the insights that he has been able to give me in his perspective has proven invaluable. And if I ever need something, I call him, and he always has a word of wisdom that you can only get through lots of years of life. So certainly good. My dad.
Nice. All right. Well, somewhat related there. So the youth in the area, kids, what's your advice to a, let's say, 15, 16-year-old living in Milwaukee today?
Hopefully they have something they're interested in. If they have a passion, pursue it relentlessly, but also leave yourself open to explore new things and new ideas. But if they have an innate fascination or curiosity, study your curiosity, become an expert in your curiosity, be a technician in your curiosity, and if they stick with it with a lot of discipline and hard work, wonderful things will happen.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I like it. So, in your travels, do you have a favorite city other than Milwaukee that you're like, oh man, I love to go there. I love elements of that city to come to Milwaukee. What's your favorite city?
So there's places I like to visit but could never live.
Okay.
And then there is what I think is my ultimate favorite city. I love Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
I love the history of Memphis. I love Beale Street.
Yeah.
You know, I got a lot of family, a lot of friends in Memphis, Tennessee, and it's just perfectly positioned in the Mid-South. Climate-wise, it's decent.
Yeah.
But yeah, Memphis is certainly one of mine. And everybody's very polite. Maybe it's that Southern hospitality, but I like Memphis. It's just big enough. Yeah. It's got some similarities to Milwaukee as well. So Memphis is definitely up there.
Good NBA city, pedestrian, Beale Street. Like, yeah, there's a good buzz and good food scene too, for sure. That's without a doubt. A little bit on food. Obviously, a Milwaukee institution is custard. Do you have a favorite place, and do you have a favorite flavor?
Cobb's hands down. All the other custard places. And my favorite flavor is just vanilla. It's uninterrupted. It's pure. Like I can get the textures of the custard in the vanilla without being distracted. I tend to be kind of vanilla in my food taste, but no, vanilla's my favorite.
All right, I like it. No, I'm a big fan of Cobb's vanilla too. There's just like, it's just simple. It's basic, but it has like a big, bold flavor to it.
That's right.
Yeah, for sure. So you talked a little bit about maybe about getting President Obama on your show at one time. We're going to do our best to make that happen. Hopefully he's watching right now. But what's been your biggest, brightest professional moment to date? Has it been a campaign? Has it been a talk show? Like what's something you're like, wow?
So a couple of things. So I worked for Tom Barrett in a number of different capacities in the past. So when I was a community organizer, which is a job I thought I was going to do forever, getting a call from his then chief of staff, a woman named Terry Perry. The congressman had noticed the work I was doing in the community, and I got an invitation to work in his congressional office. When that phone call came, that was incredible because I never thought in a million years, that I'd be able to work for a member of Congress. And also at that time, to jog people's memory, Tom Barrett was running for governor for the first time back then. Okay. And this is back in 2002, and so we all knew he was going to be the next governor. Well, it didn't exactly work out that way. So here I have an opportunity to work for a then popular member of the House of Representatives who we also thought was going to be the next governor, so that was huge. Yeah. But then when he got elected mayor in 2004, and then he called me personally and said, hey, Sherwin, remember me? I got some opportunities here for you in my mayoral administration. And that was good to know that I could still have him provide me with opportunities professionally, and I've made the most of them, let's put it that way.
Great. All right. I like it. All right. So we're kind of coming down to Burns Commons, kind of the final stop on the hop route. I always like to ask like a final destination question to kind of tie it all together. Give us your definition of success.
And I thought long and hard about this.
All right.
It's not like financial or anything. It's being content, but then being able to look around in your surroundings in an environment that you created the way you wanted to. It could be friends, it could be family, it could be the business you've always wanted to start. It could be your retirement, but being able to enjoy all the things that you've worked hard for and see your dreams and goals be realized into what your day-to-day life is. Like, that's the ultimate goal.
Nice. All right. I like it. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, this has been great.
All right.
I appreciate the
Very
opportunity.
good.
And it's good to get me back on the street car. I haven't used it in a while, so maybe I'll be a much more frequent rider, but I really appreciate that.
Very good. All right. Mission accomplished. So Sherwin Hughes is the host of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on The Truth 101.7 at Good Karma Brands. Watch the Hopcast on YouTube. Watch for it on social. But tune in to The Truth each and every day to see Sherwin. Thanks for being with us. Thanks, Sherwin.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.